It is now 6 o'clock, so I will go ahead and call the public hearing to order. This public hearing is regard to the proposed property tax assessments related to the city center parking lot improvement downtown and the affected companies where they benefited from it. Proposed was a period of 10 years at 6.2% interest. So that's what our original from our last meeting was proposed, and I am going to hand it over to Blaine with Woodseth Engineering and Blaine Green to go through an overview of that parking lot improvement.
Perfect. Thank you, Mayor. Yes, like she said, I'm Blaine Green with Woodseth, city engineer for Vergas. I was the project manager for the parking lot project. And this is all part of the 429 process to have we had a preliminary public hearing back in 2024, I think August of 24. And then this is the final assessment hearing for this same process or same project rather. So a quick run through of the agenda. The purpose of the hearing, like I said, this is kind of part of the 429 process to assess properties. You need to go through the process, have these meetings to inform the public. And so this is for the benefit of the public. To make sure that they understand what the project is, and then also what their assessments are. We'll talk about the need description, the city's assessment policy, and then we'll get into the overall final costs, and then open it up for comments and questions. But at any time, if anyone wants to jump in with a question, feel free. We can be pretty open about this. So the project need, I think we're all aware, there's a pretty big need with that parking lot. It was in rough shape. The pavement was failing. There were several instances of utility work that was done, that the pavement was torn up. And to help kind of fix some of the drainage and to put the parking lot back to a better shape, we basically undertook the project that was done. And just a reminder of what it looks like. It looks a lot nicer today than it did a couple of years ago. And the description, again, as we're aware, probably easier to see with the map here. The assessed portion that we're talking about tonight is the alleyway in the middle of the parking lot or in the overall area. That's the portion that's the assessed amount. There's other city parking lots in here, but again, that's not part of the overall assessment project. It's overall project, but not a part of the assessment itself. There was also some private work that was done. We reached out to the landowners. They agreed to get the work done as part of the project to help keep their costs down and kind of just make the whole project jive together and just get a final product that's better for everyone at the end of the day. So to talk about the 429 process or a special assessment proceeding, this case was initiated by the City Council to move forward with the project. A feasibility report was done, a preliminary hearing was completed, plans and specs were ordered, a bid. We kind of went through all the steps, and we're kind of at this final step here where we are levying the special assessments to the benefiting abutting property owners. And so where it comes to the true meat and potatoes of the overall amounts, the dollar values, the city's alley assessment policy is 50% of the project costs. So again, we're focusing on that strip of alleyway in the middle. That's what we're able to assess to the landowners. The overall project cost was just a hair over 200,000. That includes all the private work that was done in that area too. But the actual final alleyway cost was just shy of $37,000. And so by the city's policy, 50% of that to be assessed would be $18,498.85. And taking that times 560, or rather divided by 560 feet, you would get a number larger than this 2688. But because of the preliminary public hearing, we presented this number of $26.88 of assessment per linear foot. That is something we're locked into. To go above that number, we would have to have another hearing. We have to basically start the process over. And at that point, it isn't worth the dollars, and we don't want to rehash this again. So that 2688 is the number we are going to be assessing for those landowners. And like the mayor said, the interest rate and the term is set at 6.2% for 10 years. And I can see here, and I know Julie has the numbers too, but for each property, there's the amounts there that would be assessed to those properties. And that's the costs if they were to be paid today. If they're assessed over 10 years, obviously there's some interest payments that go with it, but those would be the dollar values that are assessed today. And so the final kind of schedule here, here we are, we had our project complete back in October, have our final assessment hearing today. All those benefiting landowners have 30 days to pay their assessment amount here, to avoid paying any interest on their assessment. And so that date would be March 19th, that they would be able to get checks to Julie. Any time past that, they will start accruing interest on that payment. And then the deadline to submit this to the county assessor is November 15th. At which point then come January 1st of 2027, that's when those assessments will appear on their property taxes. So that is the quick run through. I buzzed through it, and I'll probably just bounce back to this page here looking at the costs. Are there any questions from anyone?
So besides the city, we have 5 other private properties or community properties that would be assessed. Julie, did you hear in writing or in the calls from the other parties?
I had one party say that they would be paying theirs within 30 days. I have not spoken with the rest.
We'll contact you. Any questions from those in attendance?
Is the 10th year set in stone, or could that be 15?
I believe that's
That was decided by council last month.
Any other questions or comments? Questions, comments from the place here? Oh, cool.
I can see that we have a better alley for running our forklift back and forth and such, and Mr. Broom has received what he needs to keep people off his property, and Hanson's has a lot of place back there for them to move their equipment and everything, and S&Z has parking for their businesses. But what does Mr. Harstick gain in interest of his business?
It's just that they're connected adjacent to the alleyway that would have the improvement.
So just
It
by
gets to be-
the square foot and
Yeah.
and the improvement.
Yeah, that would be adjacent to that improvement.
That's also the third time that's been assessed.
So you're gonna pay for the third time, huh? That's what you get for being here so long, I guess. I mean, I'm just saying, I see a value in the other ones,
Right.
including definitely the sale. That was just my point.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, we will close the public hearing at 6:09, 9 o'clock. And the city council will start at 6:30, so we do have a little gap of time here. So. Thank you, Blaine, for coming.
you bet.
Hopefully the one's behind you and close you back home quickly, huh? Yeah.
You want me to stick around at this council meeting here?
I think with the minimal comments, I don't believe you need to. It's up to you though.
Okay, I'm glad to
Totally
say
up to you.
if there's anything you need me for, but yeah, I suppose I can't talk, because this is not formally a council meeting anymore, and it's probably
Yeah.
better not to, okay.
You can say yes
I can
and
see where
say
your
no
question-
anything, but not.
Yeah.
just-
Right.
Like that. Compared to the others. This is the third time. Yeah, compared to the other people too.
Did you build a new building over in Perth?
We have a new office there, so it was part of, kind of a merger with,
Yes.
yes, yes, yeah. See, you know better. Yeah, so we've got a handful of folks that work out of that office and, yeah. And we have Garrett, I think he's the office manager. He lives just on Glen Street, just over there. He's still working on furnishing that or finishing out the basement and everything. It's a nice little spot there. Did, I'll be right back. I printed off another map. I know we wanted one for help. Yeah, let's grab that.
He'd say he was gonna stay for the rest of the meeting.
No, I think he's gonna bring the map in and then he's gonna give him.
Hold on.
Just gonna say, Blaine, thank you for this. I think it's gonna be a nice way to.
I think so.
So telling Julie you get so many things and sometimes things kind of get lost in the shuffle of where things at and.
Right.
Once you've got the format, it isn't much to update it on a monthly
Right,
basis.
I mean,
Sometimes
sometimes
city council may not even change. You
might not
know?
change, exactly, it might be the same.
A good way to kind of say, here's what we have on the radar screen, or city, are you thinking something else? So
Right.
it just improves the lines of communication, which is always good.
Exactly, and I really like, for you guys, you have your review, and then you are willing to share that with me too.
Yeah.
It's really good to hear.
Uh,
I always like good constructive criticism. It's the only way to get better, so.
Yeah, no, the lines of communication have to be open. So
Yeah.
this is a nice addition to that.
Yeah. Good idea. I got a text from the wife, apparently I got some unruly kids at home, so I better.
I just babysat two grandkids for 4 days, 3 and 5, and talked about on road. I'm exhausted.
Oh, man. Yeah.
But that was quite a chore.
Huh?
They're usually good for other people.
They are just.
After being unruly, what's the rush?
Right, I know.
They
Well,
were a handful.
Well, you had dad there on evenings, so.
Yeah, he got home like at 7:30 at night when they were in for bed, just to help with that.
yeah, we actually had grandma come up and help watch the boys. I've got a 5 and a 7-year-old. My wife and I were down in the cities at a work thing and, yeah, grandma came up, but apparently it's, bedtime is 8-ish or so, but the younger one, he was up till 10 or so, and it's like, man, I don't know if he's ever stayed up that. Hi, grandma.
But they get up until 6 in the morning.
Well, I know, that's the problem. Then they're grumpy the rest of the day and they don't wanna take it out.
They won't nap.
Oh,
Right.
well, thank you, everyone. Have a good
Safe
night.
travels.
Expensive. Oh, right. There's nothing there. I know that. It's on file. I was going to take his Tom told me. Even so he gave.
You have 15 minutes, so if you need to get up, stretch, move, you are fine to do that.
Are they normally
the meetings are usually 6:30, right?
Yeah.
This is just, okay.
But you never know what the hearing, how long it's gonna take, it's just.
Well, I just saw
It's
something.
6:15, and then we run into council time, I mean, it's just been.
I checked my email at 10 to 6.
Oh.
Get me contact information also.
Energy and resiliency Thursday at 5:30, so
Yeah, yeah,
On my schedule again.
yeah.
There's nothing.
I haven't heard from Alex, so,
I have Sandy think for emails.
yeah, we have the draft report and the action items, so it's gonna. We'll go through it, but then we'll have to take it and
Mhm.
come back to the next meeting with it.
what'd the fire department say on the second?
Yeah, they seem to proceed knowing that they can still pull out. You know, it was just.
The numbers sure seem to make sense, so.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I didn't hear if we were just getting rain, was we getting snow?
Yeah, so.
Did it say how much? I see snow, but I don't, did you hear how much?
I think between a trace and about 18 inches.
That'll cover.
Oh, take her. That's lower red.
Covered broad spectrum.
Let's get.
Basically, it's gonna be slick in the morning.
Oh,
Around the fence area.
I'm glad I don't have to get up and go anymore.
Yeah. Okay, with that, it's not. Yeah. It's better than if we did. For, no, the NSF,
Oh, okay.
because they're a congressional grant, not a congressional grant, they're a land grant. They got a patent. Whereas the other ones. You can see them.
Okay.
And that is going to be sort of lessons in dance. So probably more since though. We have 12 cats. And. You can really show you. Yeah, I think, yeah. So. It's. Two versions. Says it doesn't. I don't know. And it's now. We start this. Separate the tracks. I used to. Of course, the tracks. Bigger obstacles. Which costs us about $300. Between the guy who took the time to explain and how much they have. That's really what comes to, yeah. And then that covered the 5 days of boarding. Actually, we have not, they have not charged us anything. Luckily, that we have not to, they have not charged us. And is that, is there a Civil Society, that's that, yeah. And then. Yeah, there were two. So yeah, there's a lot of advertisements that we picked up, so with anytime. Which on Facebook, you get to say, says it's located at, and then they also release some of this captive. So they work really well with us. It's just a great distance. Yeah. So we have a few kind of explodes, but they're okay. That's a federal funds. Maybe took some. Speaking about that. It's kind of a. It's short thing, but this thing you help because they have to find space. And they're not very, so, but I'm not sure now it's all problem. It's like the future. Everybody. I don't know what they got. This, I think that our lady volunteer at Marshall. So with them. P-A-R-T-C-H. Stuff. That's them. That's for everything there. I think that's what that's. Yeah, because they take up the space. They don't read. Right, yeah, because they don't no, I can see that. You know, that's it. Too much short like it. And if you just, take them all and don't do anything to solve the underlying problem, they're gonna just keep multiplying. They're gonna occupy the space. And doing any service to the cats, which is good. This weekend. It's like the. But we're another 2022. That's a good idea. Maybe incentivize having, give people more expensive to
We're down to 5 minutes, so we're getting there.
Trade makes you can have more if they're neutered. And the number that you have is less if they're active. So that's our point. Is to give them some. Then for well, that was calculation. Yeah, 3/4 would come to 1. Let's have a listen to this. And very right. That's because it's just kids. Yes. That's the one that was already that there. So I'll put 14 uses in for everything. Why?
Why not? Yeah. It is now 6:30. We'll go ahead and begin the city council meeting. I will call it to order. Just another agenda is citizen concerns, and do you want to just kind of summarize the concerns that have been brought forward to the city?
So we have had multiple complaints regarding feral cats and wild cats or cats running at large in Vergas. I have been told that they're living like in the culverts by the railroad tracks. I've had other ones say that they have not had cats in their yards before and they do now. We have a couple people comment on different houses, but most of them are all just wondering what we can do about cats running at large. And so I did provide with our ordinances for you. And then I have been talking to Karen about this and a couple of, I didn't think that I'd have any solutions, but she has come up with a couple of them. We could look at giving, like currently our license is $8 if they're spayed or neutered and $10 if they're not. And a lot of communities have raised that rate for non-spayed or neutered animals to encourage altering your cats and dogs. The other thing was to get more information out, like on our newsletter or our Facebook regarding, hey, try to alter your animals. And why and what the benefits of that would be. So the other is we only allow 3 animals per household. We could say if they're all spayed or neutered, we could have 4, or, you know, those are just some suggestions that we may want to consider.
But a majority of these animals that are out there are not owned by anybody, so they
Right,
aren't
that's-
ones that the incentive would be beneficial to.
Just intact cats.
I
Get
understand,
together and make more cats.
yes,
And
but currently all of the cats in town that are still intact are not owned by anyone to do that, and they are the ones that are reproducing them.
there are,
It's not, I'm not saying it's a lot of people letting their cats out of their house that are reproducing the cats. I understand how that works.
and they won't be licensing them and
Right.
stuff because they don't belong in.
I'm curious, because over by my house, there's 10 or 12. I don't know if anybody said anything about my house, but they're in my house and I have fed them in the winter. Call me guilty, but I feel bad for them in the
Yeah.
winter. I don't know how it is on the other side of the tracks.
I don't know where the complaints have they been from one side of the track or the other?
A majority of them have come from the other side, not this side, but the other
Oh,
side of
okay,
the
the east
tracks.
side.
Well, I know they are in Caden's in the old lumber.
Oh, no, I have not been told that.
Well, that's where they're at.
That's where I was told to look for Stanley when he
Yes.
was missing.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
I didn't, he wasn't there.
Yeah.
They'll go right from there into I see it.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I'm curious, what can be done? I know me not feeding them in the winter would be a plus. But I don't know, I feel bad. But if there was a way to trap, I don't wanna see them. I don't wanna see them dead on the road and I don't wanna shoot them either.
Mhm.
That would
Ideas.
probably be a violation of Minnesota statute 343.21.
So,
So shooting within city limits. No,
No,
it's-
you can shoot in our city limits as long as you're so far away from buildings.
Oh, I see.
You can't shoot cats.
That's not the way to deal with things.
Yeah.
I mean, there are organizations that trap, neuter, and release. And
That's what I was wondering, we had somebody who had come before in town.
Right, and I don't know, Karen just gave me a couple names, I'm gonna check with them to see if they're still available.
There was a lady that worked together with my cats. There's also some other people that come in. If you have a pretty calico, we don't see them long because someone takes them, which is fine.
Yeah.
And then the other thing is, if you're worried about animals, rabbits around my house are more plentiful than cats. So if you think you can clear the air for everybody with getting rid of cats, I have a mouse problem in my whole building. And many times mouse is laying in my walkway. Cats do that to show that they're doing their job. And the other lady, they don't do it in the winter time because to run down just doesn't work out. So to sit back and say that that's the whole problem, whatever, I don't see.
Well, we have to respond to the complaints where people have noted
Yeah.
they're kind of having dozens of cats on their porch and up to their door, and, you know, Ring cameras have kind of changed what people see
Oh,
at night, and
If
So-
I didn't have a problem with cats, it would be a huge complaint. You know, because they travel they'll go from his store, I guess, and then spread out and do what cats do, so.
but Stanley comes over and visits me, I don't care.
But what if Stanley was 10 to 12? Time 10 to 12.
Well, I remember a time in this town when cats were swarming all over. And I don't see that anymore. Maybe I'm on the wrong side of the
it
track.
sounds like it might be from that other side of the track more. That the complaints, because didn't you say someone seen dozens or more
Yes.
coming up to their house and on their decks and.
Unbelievable.
Well, the railroad track is something we can describe, but that doesn't, it's not a fence, so if there's cats on that side of the track, I'm.
Oh,
assuming-
absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, they are blocked from going the other way.
But in accordance with the ordinances,
Yeah.
it says that any cat that's running around out there without a collar and without a tag or not on a leash is a
Nuisance.
nuisance cat. And I know our city staff has worked on trapping cats. Last year, they got quite a few.
Lot traps.
As time permits, they do take and catch them. The problem is, I mean, it can be a huge expense for the city because they catch the cat. Staff has to put a notice on Facebook that we have this particular cat, a picture of it. So if anybody wants to claim it, they haul the cat down to Vergas Falls is where it has to go. So they're city time, 2 hours of city time or more to take it down there, city vehicle. So it's, could end up being a couple $100 a cat every time we haul one down there. So, you know, to the complaints, I agree with you, Mayor. If we've had complaints, we have to answer said complaints. So saying, well, we got more rabbits, so, you know, that's one thing. I've got tons of rabbits, but not that they're mine, but wild rabbits down there. But I mean, I think we got to respond to the complaint and say, this is our ordinance. Staff do work on cats and they will continue to work on catching cats.
Any other thoughts? Can we follow up with that service again? It seemed to work. When they came and they neutered and.
When was that when they came in?
23, I think that was when we made that other ordinance.
Yeah.
So,
Did
we
we ever
haven't
get,
made
I mean,
that.
how many cats did they?
I don't know the answer to that.
26, 28, somewhere in there. Is what I. Well, they come in and talk to us, and I don't know.
Oh,
They know Stanley and that.
Well, Julie, I mean, we certainly can put it in our newsletter and just reinforce, you know, what our ordinance is and what is occurring. Maybe we can follow up on. I don't remember who they were again.
I think it was called Friends of the Feral Cat.
Oh, yeah.
That's the name.
And you remember at the time when we had this discussion and amended our ordinances with a few changes, there was an article put in the newsletter because I wrote it that,
Mhm.
you know, your heart says, well, I'm going to feed them this wintertime, but the life of a feral cat is not a good thing no matter what. It's just, you know.
I hear you there, and that's, you know, I'm kind of looking for ideas other than, you know, not be, I'd be willing to help out, I'd willing to trap them, something, because, I mean, they only make more cats,
Mhm.
so.
And I mean, Mr. Katie and I wouldn't think would want them in his building either. I've been in buildings where we've had cats and they do make a huge, huge mess.
And we have had complaints of businesses where it's went in and excreted on some of their product
Mm-hmm.
that they're trying to sell. Well, any other thoughts? I mean, it isn't anything we're gonna solve here, but, we can start with these and then, follow up and see where it takes us. Next is the, agenda additions and deletions. We are going to create a number 7 committee reports. And that will be the EDA, HRA, and Personnel Committee. And those documents were embedded, resolutions, and then a couple of, a new policy and a policy change for Personnel Committee. And then we will delete the energy and resilience because we've had no meeting since the last council meeting. And then the CDH Vergas Fire Board, will report next meeting. There was no report provided. Any other additions or deletions that anyone else had? If not, can I have a motion to approve the agenda?
I'll make a motion.
Have a motion from James, is there a second? Second from Paul, all in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 3. Approval of the consent agenda with those changes of removing the EDA, Energy Resilience, CDHA Fire Board, and EDA. I just wanted to note one correction in the liquor store bills. I noted it had January 2025 and it should be January 2026 at the end because it shows a loss, and we did end up in the positive. So that correction will be made to make it January 2026. Any other, anything anyone wanted pulled or anything? If not, I'll take a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Make a motion.
We have a motion for Paul. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a second from James. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, the consent agenda is approved. We have the city center parking lot. We had our public hearing, minimal comments, I don't know, based on the comments, if anybody is wanting to make any changes to what has been recommended. We have the 10-year 6.2, we have the breakout of the different properties and what they would assess.
Well, like you say, that's the 3rd time I paid to fix that.
Yeah.
That's all the alley? No, is it?
Yeah,
It's all just the alley.
I don't have any other.
Why would that be your responsibility?
Because everybody who gets assessed on the alley.
Both with adjacent properties.
We have adopted that manual, Paul, road assessment or road improvement and it says alleys,
Complete
50%, cities, 50%
Oh,
adjacent land.
oh, that one, yeah.
So that's in the policy.
Yeah, I remember that.
I would make a motion to adopt the proposed assessment schedule as presented by Mr. Green.
I'll second that.
We have a motion from Bruce, a second from Paul. Any other discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
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 Any opposed?
Aye.
Motion carries. With that, we need the resolution approved. Julie, that was in there, right?
Correct.
Yeah, the resolution on the assessments, it just outlines what we had discussed, a 10-year period with interest rate of 6.2. Is there a motion to adopt the resolution for the assessments to the properties?
I'll make the motion.
We have a motion from
I'll
James.
second it.
We have a second from Paul. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Resolution adopted, and then we need to make a decision because the city was part of that. So, do we want to be part of the 10-year 6.2% or?
Can I go back one
Oh.
second? Just want to make sure, Dean, you abstained, correct?
Okay, I didn't hear.
I made the comment because I think a lot of people don't realize.
Yeah, yes, and I
I
totally
mean,
can
it
make
was
that
dug
comment.
out just like it was before. And there's different times that they had, and it was patched and I didn't have any problem with that. And they just decided, and it does make it look nice, there's no question about that. I was impressed with the way they dug it out to give support underneath with proper granular substance underneath there. And that kind of thing, did a good job, but just that I had a bad summer, a lot of surgeries and stuff. And 15 years would go a little bit easier.
And I think just for noting, Robert's Rules of Order, because I've been involved with a lot of meetings. If you want to abstain, I think you should say the word abstain, because if you don't vote, that's the same as voting in the affirmative. If we go around and Paul says yes and James and I say
And
yes,
that's what.
and you don't vote,
legally.
you voted in the affirmative. That's what Robert's Rules of Order says. You voted with those passing the motion. So just clarifying that.
I mean, I don't expect it to be, nor do I just want to aggravate things, but it's just people what. I mean, it's, after you do it 3 times, it gets to be a little bit.
Okay. And so going back to the city's portion of that assessment, which was, what was it, 326.34. We have the option of paying that off or going into a 10 years at 6.2%. Julie, money wise?
And money wise, we're,
I would recommend us paying, it's 2,000, right? I mean, we have the funding for that. With our project.
and I'm assuming whatever we're earning on our money is not at 6.25%.
Correct, yes, and we're already paying our bond payment at 5.4%, which is why the assessment is 1% higher than what our payment is. That's and so.
And the 1% higher is a by law thing, just in case there are some unpaid assessments or people pay early and then that doesn't account for interest that's due in year 10 of the bond, so.
Correct.
I would make a motion that we use existing city funds to pay off our share of the 50% assessment, or 26,326.34.
Is there a second?
Second.
We have a motion from Bruce and a second for James to go ahead and proceed and pay it off. All in favor, indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried. Committee reports. The EDA HRA, was someone?
Yeah,
Yes, sir.
Do you want me to take?
I can, just a quick summary, of course, the EDA HRA is working on a potential new daycare facility for the city of Vergas. We've had a number of meetings, we've looked at other facilities, et cetera. We're applying for any and all available grants that are out there. I will successful completion of a daycare project will include some fundraising to the tune of maybe a couple $100,000. So it's going to be a lot of work involved to make that happen. The EDA feels that it would be a strong asset to our community as new families look at buying homes, et cetera, in this area. Daycare is important, and given the fact that some of them now are traveling quite some distance to find that type of facility, we feel it would be an economic benefit to Vergas. One of the big grants will go through the state. I think the application is due like March 15th or 16th. We'll find out probably in early June whether or not we get that. The county has committed to some funds, and I'll let Julie take it over. We passed a resolution a month ago, but now we need an additional resolution for.
And our current resolution is for Ottertail County, and they have stated if we get those state funds, they will also put 5% towards this project. So, so this is to let the county know that the EDA has the authority to apply for any and all grants for this project. Our project is now being called Growing Up Vergas, so hopefully you will see that in many places over the next few months. So this gives EDA and our CETA rep permission to apply for any and all grants that she can find.
Because you have to be very careful when discussing a project of this nature that it's a home-based daycare. Because as soon as you call it a daycare facility, it opens you up to another 45 pages of state laws, regulations, and the plumbing codes and the, it's a whole different animal. Now, if you build home-based daycare, then that's what it is. And then you apply the rules as they exist today. But we did tour facilities in both Perm and the city of Otter Tail, and those are home-based daycare. So, I mean, even the staffing and everything, it puts you into a whole new tier if you're building quote unquote a daycare. So this is home-based daycare.
And with this, you have this, I mean, you had a resolution last month, you have one this month, you're going to be getting more. And one of them will be to have Otter Tail County be our fiscal agent. Because we're a city under 5,000, we need to use the county for a lot of things.
That would be great if they would assume that role if we get that far.
Yeah. So we have a proposed resolution, to go ahead with the EDA, pursuing grant funding and other kind of funding opportunities for home daycare. Home-based
I would
daycare.
make a motion, Mayor, to approve resolution 2026-002.
We have a motion to approve the resolution. Is there a second?
I'll second.
We have a motion from Bruce, second from James. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No. The resolution is approved. The other committee report is Personnel Committee. They have two recommendations. One is the new policy regarding kind of to set the stage when we have somebody who's on leave 2 weeks or longer, that there is a handoff and that we are prepared to assume some of the tasks and keep operations going. Any comments or questions on the policy? Hopefully you've had an opportunity to look at it. I think this is kind of to the lead, so it's kind of a very kind of a template of what others are doing.
I mean, assuming, you know, you guys are the experts on this policy stuff, but I mean, some of it gets rolled into that Family Medical Leave Act and.
The leave, this new policy isn't about leave, it's about what you do if somebody's gonna go on leave 2 weeks or longer.
Oh,
Our
okay.
personnel policy did not change as to types of leave.
In terms of the, okay. Thank
Yeah,
you for
so
that
this is
clarification. Yeah.
really that we have a mechanism that we can hand off and how we would manage if there was someone on extended leave.
And I imagine there's a couple different scenarios that play out in that regard, such as I know that I'm going to be gone for this month, or I have these, or I'm going to be gone for a month, or I hit a moose on the way home and I'm out of service for the next month.
Part of the policy is that you would notify the city
Yeah.
office as soon as possible, and as we go through this year with performance appraisals and that, we're gonna make part of it that they have a handover, kind of a task list, so we
Sure.
generally know what someone would do for those unexpected, that we're not just caught off guard, that we'd at least be able to pick up.
And I
Because we have a
probably-
lot of single person jobs. So.
Yeah, that handover would probably kind of deal, because as the task varies throughout the seasons, that to say, okay, January, February, March, this is what we're dealing
Right,
with.
and then annually with their evaluations, we would take a look at it and ask them for any updates or anything that has
I think
changed.
that's wise decision.
Any other comments or questions on the policy, the new policy?
Hmm.
If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The policy is approved. And with that, we made just a modification to the current personnel policy to reference this policy so it doesn't get lost.
Mhm.
So it was on page 6 of the personnel policy. And it basically referenced this, but Julie has a different title, so if you want to fix it to be the same title. And so that it's actually referencing the same title of document. So it really is kind of a housekeeping thing that we blend the two and we don't lose one, because the personnel one is like 40 pages. It's gotten so long. So any questions or comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion to approve that.
So moved to make that addition.
Is there a second? We have a motion, Bruce, second by Paul. Any other discussion? Call for the vote. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Carried. Julie, do you just, it has nothing to do with content. Could you just clean up the format? The margins and spaces are all over the place throughout the document. So. Thanks. That is it for the committee reports. Staff reports. Engineer update.
Well, we were all asked to put in our comments regarding both review of our city attorney and city engineer, and I think, out of those comments, you see a report in your packet for the first time from Widseth, from a street committee. Paul and I are on that. I mean, you start, all of a sudden, you're kind of tracking a whole bunch of things. And then they get involved with sewer and water, and then what happened with Mr. Benkuski, you remember he was here, and Keely Shores.
Yeah.
This is just a monthly update, and I thank Blaine for doing this before he left, to kind of say, here's what we see on the agenda. If you notice, like upcoming, the gravel pit, we'll be doing an annual review of that. I think it's just a good way to track their involvement. What are they working on? And again, this shouldn't be a real spendy thing to do. It's just a quick monthly update. And then street committee, we can say, okay, yeah. Or if they got deadlines, they can put them in here, those types of things. I know we kind of lost, on the lead service lines, where was all that at? And it's a lot to keep track of. And this summarizes that on one page. So I think it's to their benefit and ours to have this type of report.
Yeah, Blaine did a good job. So, any questions or comments on what Blaine has provided? It's just really kind of what's on in motion. Julie, the city clerk report.
Alrighty, so update with the grants. We have the OSHA grant. They are currently, they have put in the security system and cameras in the city office. And then they will be updating the shop the rest of this week. So all of that should be completed this week. So I'll be able to file for final that to complete. The solar grant, nothing has progressed on that at the moment. The MDH implement grant, which is going to be the fence around the water plant. They have now released that. They have funds. I'm waiting for the actual contract to come. And so then this spring, as soon as the frost is out of the ground, we can begin putting that fence up. The other item is I met with a group called Text My Gov proposal that I got in the packet. If the city is ever interested in, they have a program where they would put something on our website that the people could sign up for. And then if you wanted updates of things that were going on, we will be able to send out text messages to anybody that put their phone number in there. One of the things about this is it is not, it would not be based by people's names or anything. We would just have their phone number. So anybody that wanted text messages in the area could just sign up for that. The cost of that is $1,500 annually, and then the setup fee is $750. So for the first year would be $2,250, and then after that it would be $1,500 a year. We do currently have a system where with our utility bills, a billing program that we can send out utility billing information, and we have a emergency plan through Otter County where we can send messages to everybody that way. And then they can sign up. When they sign up on the Otter County site, they can choose if they want it emailed, texted, or a phone call.
Mayor, I think it's nice. I mean, Vergas is a relatively small town of 350 people or whatever. We all kind of know each other. And I think if they have concerns, they get a hold of one of the five of us to say, there's no issue. I think it would be a nice program to have, but given the fact that we really had to sharpen the pencil on budgets this year, I just wonder if, the annual fee of $1,500, the money has to come from someplace, and I think we don't have that money tree. So
Yeah, I tend to agree. It seems like the emergency one is such a key one.
Yeah.
I'm not sure besides emergencies and utilities what, someone would really want to be taxed that they just couldn't call and ask.
I think there was some examples here, maybe of, they had a pothole or something in
Yeah,
front of their place.
but- Yeah, but then we take those all the time where they can just, make a complaint.
And we
let
do
us know and-
some of those surveys ourselves. We go
Yeah.
out to the city and take a look at different things, so.
Mhm, true. So, I don't know if we need a formal recommendation,
do
it's kind of an
anything if you-
FYI, so I think we know it's there, if we would foresee any need. Any other thoughts, from anyone about that program? Okay, anything else, Julie, you wanted to highlight?
Yep.
Okay. Well, we have concluded our agenda, and I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion from James,
Second,
and we have a second from Carl. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
yeah.